morning, good morning. It is November the 5th. This is a big one. This is a big one for us in the UK. For us, like I was walking Roofy this morning, and in fact this lead up week to Halloween, hardly anybody has got Halloween decorations. In fact, I think there's fewer than last year. Our neighbour had them last year, but they haven't this year. There seems to be fewer about. There's a couple of really good ones, and then people just haven't bothered. I've seen some people put a little sort of note or something, just a skeleton up or something, just I think for families to know that people are doing Halloween. You can go and knock on the door because we're miserable and we don't want people knocking on our doors. It's not a tradition. That's the main thing. It is not a tradition here in the UK. Really, it's something we've kind of adopted from America. And it's not as big, and we just don't. The big one for us is Bonfire Night, which is a tradition going back centuries. We're looking at over 400 years when this originated and where the tradition came from. So Bonfire Night, November the 5th, Guy Fawkes Night. That's all that it's known as. And it is a story about what happened in 1605 in London. I'm going to let the video play and then I'm going to tell you more detail about the story, because you've probably heard, you may have heard, I mean, if you're in the UK, you will have, but if you're anywhere else, you may have heard this story. I didn't know the details of it until I went and looked. So I've got a couple of pages of notes here. And it was interesting. And I'm gonna share it with you. So stick around. Let's listen to this. This track that's coming up is the Banditz doing Bonfire Night. Now, I was looking for somebody who was doing some sort of song about Bonfire Night, and they've done a lot for kids. So, but it's a quite fun one, and it's one of the few that I found that I quite liked. And it has the lyrics up, and it's got the fire burning, and it's just telling the tale in a little song. So, let's go and listen to that, and then we'll have a chat about it. Here we go.
Drake met a Catholic gang. They didn't like King James, so they hatched a plan. They wanted to be free, but went to the extreme. This is the tale of Bonfire Night. On Bonfire Night, they tried to light up the sky and blow up the king in a ball of fire. But the fuse was never burned, the plot was overturned, and that's why we light fireworks tonight. Tried to light up the sky and blow up the king in a ball of fire. But the fuse was never burned, the plot was overturned, and that's why we light fireworks tonight. Give a penny for the guy, cause they all survived on November the 5th, back in 1605. Their leader was from York and was called Guy Fawkes. This is the tale of Bonfire Night. On Bonfire Night, they tried to light up the sky and blow up the king in a ball of fire. But the fuse was never burned, their plot was overturned, and that's why we light fireworks tonight. On Bonfire Night, they tried to light up the sky and blow up the king in a ball of fire. But the fuse was never burned, their plot was overturned, and that's why we light fireworks tonight. And that's why we light fireworks tonight. And that's why we light fireworks tonight.
And there you go. So yeah, so that that kind of told the story. The one thing it got wrong, saying Guy Fawkes was the leader. He wasn't. I thought he was the leader, but he wasn't. So yeah, in 1605, James I was on the throne, and they were having an opening of Parliament. Whereas, like now they do that. Parliament closes for a while and people take holidays, and then they open again, and the monarch's present. Well, this so he was going to be present at the opening of Parliament, set for November the 5th. So the assassination attempt, I thought it was just to get rid of government, but it isn't. It's to get rid of the king, because they want to return to Catholicism. I mean, this used to be a Catholic country. And it was Henry VIII who fought that, because he wanted to get a divorce. Because he just wanted to marry everybody in sight. So he was the start of it, and bringing a more of a Protestant faith to the country, and got himself excommunicated because he wanted to get divorced. He wasn't allowed to as a Catholic. So yeah, the bunch of guys, the leader was Robert Catesby, and he had a load of co-conspirators, one of which was Guy Fawkes. He's the most famous, and he's the one that everybody remembers. And yeah, they wanted to return to Catholicism because the Catholics weren't being treated very well in the country. And so they had this plot to blow up Parliament on the opening of Parliament, when the king would be there, because they could get to him, I suppose, easier than trying to get to him in a palace somewhere. But the plot was leaked on the 27th of October by a guy called Francis Tresham, and he leaked it to his mate. He was friends with Lord Monteagle, and he wanted to warn him to not be there, because he would be in the House of Lords at the time of this plot taking place. So he wanted to warn him not to be there, because Lord Monteagle has previously been involved in plots for Catholicism to help the Catholics. So he obviously thought, he's my mate, I'll give him a warning, he'll get himself out of the way. But unfortunately, Lord Monteagle had sworn allegiance to the king and decided he was going to show this letter. So he gave the letter to ministers of Parliament, and they decided, hang on a minute, they decided that they were going to search the cellars underneath the Houses of Parliament to see what's going on before the opening ceremony. But they didn't want to do it too soon, because they wanted to catch the traitors. So they decided to do it at the last possible moment. So on the night before, on November the 4th, the king ordered the Lord Chamberlain to go and search the building, and they went down to the cellars, and Guy Fawkes opened the door. There was Guy Fawkes standing there with an enormous pile of firewood and a bunch of gunpowder behind him. So he was arrested, and he was tortured for several days. I think November the 9th, he gave up the names of his co-conspirators. So he had 5 days of torture ahead of him, and he revealed who they were. But they, in the meantime, had run off. They'd fled because he'd been arrested. They all scarpered, and they were hunted down, and they found where they were holed up, and they were shot at. And Catesby was there, and him and 2 others were killed outright, and the rest were wounded and taken prisoner. They were all executed, except for Francis Tresham, the original guy who decided to let everybody know about this, which is rather stupid of him, given that he then died. But he didn't get executed. He actually died in the Tower of London at the beginning of 31st of January 1606. So I'm not sure. They were holding him for quite a long time. I don't know if they were torturing him, but they were holding him. But in the meantime, Guy Fawkes was sentenced to be hanged, drawn and quartered, which is not very pleasant. And his co-conspirators have been executed. I'm not sure if they had the same sentence. They may well have done. He was going to be hanged, drawn and quartered. He'd had 5 days of torture, and I think he decided that that was enough. He, before they could get the noose around his neck on the gallows to hang him, he jumped, and he fell, and he broke his neck and died. So he saved himself from very unpleasant situation, because hanged, drawn and quartered means you're hanged until you're almost dead. So you're not dead. Then you're taken down. Then they emasculate you, which is removing your sex organs. So it's not castration, it's removing everything. Then they disembowel you. Then you actually finally get to die. They behead you, and then they cut your body up, they quarter it, and they apparently used to display it in prominent places. So This would probably be because it was London. They'd probably put it up on the London Bridge and displayed it as a warning to treasoners, people who were going to be high traitors, treasonous towards the crown. They only did this to men because they said for reasons of what's the word I'm looking for? They thought it would be indecorous to do it to women, so women got to get burned alive instead, because they thought them displaying sex organs was just was inappropriate for for public consumption. But they will happily do it to Guy. So yeah, women got to be burned at the stake, and all of this, bloody Francis Tresham giving them away, and then King James, what does he do? He made even stricter laws against the Catholics after that. So it didn't actually help anybody. It got a load of people killed, and it made life worse for Catholics. So, yeah. And it became a bit of a legend, I guess. It's something a story that has just followed us down the years. And 400 odd years later, 419 years later, here we are. And we celebrate November the 5th every year. People will make effigies of Guy Fawkes. The kids will go around the street. Well, they used to. I don't know if they do now, but kids used to make. They used to get old clothes and stuff it with straw and make a Guy Fawkes, and they'd go around the street saying penny for a guy, so they could get some cash. They could go and buy their fireworks then. And Guy Fawkes would get that dummy would get burnt on a bonfire, and everybody would have fireworks and celebrate. So it's something we just do now. I don't know why, but we do. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's something we've always celebrated. I remember going to the ones my dad's company that he used to work for organised, and always having a hot soup and a baked potato and watching the fireworks, because the displays were always better, because they always had bigger and better and more than you could afford. Although I do remember having indoor fireworks at home when I was younger, which were interesting. They were a bit rubbish, but they were quite funny. Anyway, yeah, so I thought I'd give you the background of Bonfire Night. And I learnt a bit as well, because there was a lot in there that I didn't realise, because I thought Guy Fawkes was the leader. I didn't realise it was to kill the king. I thought it was just to blow up Parliament. But yeah, they wanted to get rid of the king and Parliament in one fell swoop, which might have been a good idea, actually. I didn't say that. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Back to normal viewing tomorrow. But I wanted to do that as a special for Bonfire Night. Okay. I will link to the Banditz below. They've got more educational stuff, and there's not much. But, you know, go and give the song a like. It was a bit of fun. And if you wouldn't mind giving me a like, that would be awesome. And I will see you on the next one. So have a good day. Be good. If you can't be good, be careful. Don't be like Guy Fawkes. And watch who you're telling, because they might go and dob you in. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one, folks. Have a good day. Bye.